Hi, Sherazad, how are you?
Nice to meet you, Homa.
What do you think? Who is Sherazad and what does she do? And
That is a very complicated question.
do you feel that your family had that influence on you when you told them, okay, this is the career path that I'm going to pursue and this is something that I want to be?
Actually, when I was younger, my father wanted me to be a violinist because I play the violin.
I feel that this field specifically is at times very consuming. It's very challenging.
Yes, very
So,
emotionally.
Yeah. So do you ever get those calls from your friends over
Yes.
pettiest things? The pettiest thing that have nothing to do with law, nowhere around that, and you're like, what do I say?
And I won't name the person, but I remember I once got a call because someone got pulled over by the police.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our podcast that is basically dedicated to women who juggle the demands of their professional careers but at the same time manage their personal lives as well. In each episode, we'll delve into the lives of women whose stories might not be well recognized but they're equally profound. And we have a woman like that with us today. She is a human rights lawyer who has done her LLM from University of California, Berkeley. She has also been a legal associate and an advocacy officer, and she's dealt many cases, including the death row inmates, juveniles, and the cases of mentally ill. So, hi, Sherazad, how are you?
Nice to meet you, Homa. So currently I'm working as a legal advisor mandated by UNICEF at the National Commission on the Rights of the Child. And previously, like you stated, I worked as a legal associate, I worked as an advocacy officer, and whatever, as many hats as I could juggle.
I felt this that I failed to properly summarize your introduction.
No.
So that's why I wanted you to, just tell us what do you think, who is Sherazad and what does she do? And
That is a very complicated question. But I would mostly say that when it comes to my professional life, it's abundantly being covered by the legal hemisphere. I haven't delved into that much other than that. When I was interning, of course, I tried to intern in women empowerment schemes such as KUSH, which is a microfinance bank which helps women. Their customers are women, and they give small loans to women-led businesses, which helps them establish themselves.
okay, so you knew from the beginning when you were a child, we can say, or when you were in your teen years that, okay, this is the career that I want to pursue and this is something that I want to do in life.
I wouldn't say I knew from the very beginning. I did have a lot of external influences. So I believe I was in class 7. I was 11 or 12 years old when this country was overtaken by the lawyers' movement. So I think that was a very, very predominant influence in my life that caused me towards the legal arena, basically.
Oh, that sounds fun. So do you feel that your family had that influence on you when you told them, okay, this is the career path that I'm going to pursue and this is something that I want to be? So they were like, okay, fine. Yeah, we're there for you.
Actually, when I was younger, my father wanted me to be a violinist because I play the violin. And both my parents are doctors. So my mother was kind of pushing me towards dentistry. I just never vibed with medicine or dentistry. I'm deadly afraid of blood. I still almost pass out when I have to give a blood test. So I think post A-levels, I entered this law moot competition on a whim. And when we won as a team, I decided maybe this is the career path for me. And my parents were very supportive.
And that's very interesting since your mother, mashallah, is the first plastic surgeon, was the first plastic surgeon of Pakistan. So how did it feel like growing up around her and she was like, okay, fine, you want to do law, you want to pursue law, it's fine?
No, she was actually very, very supportive. And honestly, she's a role model. I still look up to her. The fact that she was able to juggle having 2 children, being a full-time mother and also being a professional.
I think the things that you have said about your mother, and she was of course an inspiration. I think we should order first. So since we have talked a lot about your family and all and your relationship with them, but also let's talk a little bit about your work.
Yeah.
Because I feel that this field specifically is at times very consuming. It's very challenging.
Yes, very
So,
emotionally.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you ever came across or something that you felt that was the end for you? That would have felt like the end for you. Okay, oh my God, I don't want to pursue this field anymore. Or any case or anything that you worked on and any person that you came across who made you so emotional in a way that you felt that should I be doing it or not? Because I feel that this is not an easy job. It's not.
So, I will be honest, I had wonderful inspirations in the form of female lawyers throughout my life. One of them was Barrister Sara Bilal. She is unbelievable, like she's brilliant, and she takes up so many cases with regards to juvenile justice, with regards to vulnerable groups within society. So I remember right before Christmas break, it was December 2020, peak COVID, and we got a very, and I won't get into the details because honestly, confidentiality is one of the main things of our profession. But it was a blasphemy case regarding this person from a vulnerable group of society, a minority, and she was wrongfully accused because of a property matter, which is a very, very, overall majority of cases of blasphemy in Pakistan are because of some other reason. It's usually property, it's usually some familial issues, stuff like that. So I remember her case came to us, and right before Christmas break, right before the courts let off, I remember her, she was granted bail and her case was disposed of. And it was one of the best feelings, even though while pursuing her case and going through all the, even just going to court with her, it was something that I'll never forget. But when it got disposed of, and I remember it was the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, and she came by my house personally, and she came with this, traditional Christmas cake. And she brought 2 Christmas cakes actually, one for me and one she was like, please take around to everyone you know. It was the best feeling in the world. I can't describe it.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Also, when I was going through your portfolio, work portfolio, I came across this really high-profile case that was Misha Shafi's case, and I figured that you were basically on that legal team that was dealing that case. So, how do you feel that changed your perspective regarding the advocacy and the entertainment industry? And how did you feel working on that case? Because it was a very popular sort of...
This is the first of its kind.
Yeah.
Defamation is an area of law that is very popular abroad, especially in day-to-day things. But when it comes to Pakistan, especially involving 2 people from the entertainment industry and such high-profile people, I think it was the first of its kind. And it involved not just defamation, but this whole area of law that is still underdeveloped within Pakistan, that is the internet. So you have social media plays such a huge role in that case. Again, without going too much into detail.
Yeah, of course.
Any kind of confidentiality. But that was actually the first cases of my legal career. I was fresh out of law school, and I believe I graduated. I was actually just done with my exams in June, and I joined this law firm in July. And this was the first case that was given to me. And it was actually very interesting because there's an act we have called the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act of 2016, and there's a section within it which has caused so much ambiguity in Islamabad, actually, especially right now the Islamabad High Court, and that is section 20, which talks about character assassination. So that basically was such a big deal for me to deal with that and to be able to, because it was a proper litigation case. So we went to court every day. We were part of it, because my senior partner was so brilliant. He allowed us to be part of examinations, cross-examinations. We got to meet all the people who were involved. We got to also interact with so many prominent lawyers who advised us appropriately. So I think I was very lucky to be able to be on that case as soon as I was out of law school.
There's like so many cases that you work on, and there's so many cases that you came across that after that you feel a bit exhausted and you feel they're all very consuming. So what is that one go-to thing that you do after work, after like a tough case, a challenging case? Okay, you just go to that thing.
Honestly speaking, I wish I could say something very fancy and intellectual and be like, oh, I read a book. I've started reading again. But honestly, I just used to binge Netflix.
Oh, that's your go-to.
Yes. And I would watch proper like 90s shows like Gilmore Girls, or I remember I was watching Dawson's Creek or stuff like that. I recently actually started watching Dhoop Kinare, which was really nice because I hadn't seen anything like that before. So it was really, when I was growing up, television was something we didn't indulge in that much. We were more told to play outside. So
do you ever get those calls from your friends over like pettiest things? The pettiest thing that have nothing to do with law, nowhere around that, and you're like, what do I say?
And I won't name the person, but I remember I once got a call because someone got pulled over by the police just because I think they left their license at home. Once I got a call that Food Panda had apparently not given the appropriate change and I'm supposed to write a legal notice to them. I've got all kinds of calls. But I also, you know what, at the end of the day, you also admire the trust that people have.
Yeah.
Even if sometimes your own legal advice is useless.
And there's a lot of people out there who want to pursue this career, of course. So, and a lot of women specifically. So, is there anything that you would like to tell them that whoever feels that maybe it's going to be difficult, maybe it's going to be tough, maybe it's going to be challenging, they're not going to be able to like complete it or pursue it, anything to make it easy for them?
Of course, I think it's at the end of the day, I would never push someone towards the legal career, but I'd say you should always go with what you're passionate about. Because when you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel like you're working 9 to 5, but you're actually pouring your soul into something that will make you also feel good at the end of the day.
And lastly, is there anything that you would like to add, you would like to talk about?
Honestly speaking, I think that women need to also realize that there are moments where they do not have to, and for lack of a better term, be a girl boss. There are moments women can be restful. You do not always have to be like, oh, if I didn't do, let's say, 10 things in a day, so I don't deserve 1 hour of rest. Even if there are days where you do nothing, you need that rest to be able to recharge. I think I've seen so many different kinds of women who are working, women who are ambitious, women who are, doing all these different kinds of things. But I've hardly seen a woman who is unapologetic about being restful at times. And I'd really like that women embrace that, because why should rest be something that you have to constantly earn as a woman?
And this is very, very true about our society. We come across everyone. I would include myself in this, is because when I feel like that I'm not doing something, I don't feel so good about myself. It's because we also saw our mothers, we saw people in the society, the women in the society, and everybody, they're all constantly working, they're doing something and so many things, and you're like, oh my god, no, you cannot rest. So I would say this is something great that everybody should do.
Restfulness is something that
just rest. Everybody just rest. Leave everything and just rest.
Definitely have to learn that it isn't.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay to rest.
Yeah.
So it was lovely having you, Shahrazad, and thank you so much for being here. It was such a lovely chatter.
No,
and I got to know so much about law. And
definitely, if your audience ever has any questions, etc., I would be more than happy to help out in any capacity I can.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.